Hello, students, and welcome to your Week 2 announcement for MMDD 157 Digital Audio Design. Hope you had a nice week last week. Hope you had a great weekend, and hope you feel nice and refreshed to take on the week again now in this class. Last week, I'm sure it was a lot of overwhelming information in all of your courses about what are these classes about, how are my professors doing these classes, how do I do all of this online, who do I have to meet with when, all of that crazy stuff, right? So hopefully for this class, you're starting to get a better understanding of how all of this is going to work. Maybe you knew to anticipate this announcement, which would be fantastic, right? You knew, okay, Monday at noon, I'm going to get another announcement, and there's going to be a video in there walking me through what's going on this week. And so here we are, right? At this point, you should, like I said, have gone through all of the course information from last week, have a better idea of what this course is, what it's all about, what projects you will be working on, and specifically your first project, the VUI design project. You should have some idea of the fact that you are going to be doing it over these first 7 weeks and kind of how that's broken down, as well as your first lesson last week on an intro to VUIs. So you should know what a VUI is now, right, ideally. And this week, we're going to look a bit more in detail at some of that stuff. So as you should know by this point, this video is going to walk you through basically all of the necessary Blackboard materials that are available to you this week for you to make sure that you understand what's going on. And I'll detail some more aspects as well of like the assignment you'll be working on this week just to help walk you through it. And then you'll be on your own to complete this thing over the week, right? And when it comes to your assignments in this class, and you'll notice as well, the materials this week may seem a bit lean, and especially compared to last week because there was so much information with all of the course and everything like that. This week, you basically just have one dedicated lesson and an assignment you will be working on. But the whole idea is that you won't be thinking, okay, how can I complete this assignment as quick as possible? But instead, you'll say, okay, I'm going to spend a good amount of time really, spending time answering these questions I need to do, executing this stuff, and putting good effort into it for a submission to me, right? Something I'm going to say in this video a few times and throughout the semester as well is that at this point, you're in your second semester of this program, or of whatever program you're in. Oh, no, it is this program. You're in MMDD, everyone in this class. Sometimes I teach combined classes. Anyway, everyone in the MMDD program, you're in your second semester. And so at this point, I want you to start thinking about your assignments in these courses, less about being things you have to do to send to your instructor so that you get a grade and all of that kind of stuff. And instead be thinking about it more as like practice runs of eventual things you will have to do and deliverables you will have to give to clients, right? And so in the future, when it comes to delivering things to clients and your managers and bosses and stuff like that, you're going to have to be doing that a lot, right? And you want the things that you send to those people to be well made, right? And show good effort and that you spent time with them. And so when it comes to your deliverables in a class like this, it's a great practice opportunity to consider me not just as your professor or as the person grading your work, but as a potential client or your boss or manager or something, right? The person that you want to make sure you show that you put effort into this thing that you made for them, essentially. So that's just kind of something I wanted to say there. And a couple of other kind of tips and tricks I wanted to say too when it comes to approaching these online classes with me. One being that these videos are uploaded on YouTube and you can change the speed of the video. So if you find that I talk a bit slow or something, I do tend to try and be very articulate with my language in these videos just so that it is clear to my students what I'm saying and all that kind of stuff. But maybe you want to hear me at 2 times speed, right? And you can do that. And you can kind of zip through these videos if you would really like to, so that they don't take as much time, and then you can spend more time on your assignments. So that's one kind of hack I wanted to show you or tell you. Another one is, and we'll just go ahead and get into Blackboard here. Here we are, right? MMDD 157, Digital Audio Design. Before I get into the content for this week, I just wanted to show you something called progress tracking, which I did turn on last week in the course, but I wanted to cover it this week because now I know a bit more about it and what it is. Like I said before, we're both here in the Blackboard Ultra world, living and working and learning about it together. So this is a new feature that I turned on last week, and I think it'll be very useful for you actually in this class. So you'll notice, I'll just go into the student preview here to show you what it looks like from your end. So I have this thing called progress tracking on, and again, you might have noticed this already, but you can see next to the information here, there's these little dots or these circles. And if you hover over it, it says this item will be marked completed once all the children have been completed. Children, I think, is a funny word to use, but that is what these things are called. So if you open this up, right, let's say, for instance, I click on the course overview and I have it open here, which you would have done this last week. Once I've clicked on it, it actually, now the circle is half filled and I have the option to mark it as complete. And so, once I would have gone through the course overview, watched the video here, taken some notes, making sure that I understood what this course is all about, I could go back to Blackboard, click on this, and now, hey, I've gone through the course overview. Now I've checked it off, right? And in order for this whole section to be checked off, you would have needed to open and go through all of these documents and check them off yourself. But I think this is a great way for you to keep track of yourself, basically, and to make sure that you're completing everything that's put on Blackboard and that you know all of this stuff. And so when it comes to stuff like your lessons here, right, you would click on Intro to VUIs. You'd open up the lesson. Once you've clicked on it, I'll just let it load. Once you've clicked on it, it's kind of half filled. And then once you've gone through the lesson, you could finish it, right? And maybe you open up a lesson and you kind of only go through part of it, and then something comes up, you have to go walk your dog or something. You come back, you finish the lesson, then you check it off then, right? But like I said, it's a way for you to keep tabs on yourself. I actually don't think that I can see from my end what students have clicked and selected in terms of their progress. So don't feel like you just have to click completed on everything when you haven't actually completed it. That's not going to do you any good at all. This is just meant to be, I think, a useful tool for you. Just keep track of all these different things that are put on Blackboard and to make sure that you go through them and you complete them and all of that. I think that should be very helpful for you, actually. So I wanted to just spend some time making sure that I highlighted that in this video, just as a tool to help you as you work through this course, right? And maybe your other classes have that turned on too. I don't know, but I wanted to make sure I went through it here. Now that all that's taken care of, we're just going to go ahead and go through your course materials for this week. And to access them, you will go to this Project 1 Voice User Interface area, click on it, and last week you had this folder for week 1, and now your week 2 sort of package is now available. And you will see it has an asterisk so that you can focus on it, right? And it is called Intro to VUI Applications. It was previously called Intro to VUI Design, but when it came to building out the materials for this week, it ended up being more focused on the applications. And so that's what I'm going to be focusing on this week when it comes to your lesson as well as your assignment. And so you'll see here, right, you have a lesson on VUI applications and an assignment, which is your VUI research and case study, the first sort of official submission you will have for this class, right? And it is worth 5%. So not a substantial amount, but good enough to make sure that you do want to put, like I said, good effort into it. But it is a nice kind of trial run as well, just to get used to the assignments in this class and how you'll submit them and all of that kind of stuff. So what you'll do is open up your lesson on VUI applications. And what this is basically going through the 3 main smart assistant technologies, which are run by Amazon, Google, and Apple. And the various applications that are available for them, as well as how you can access these applications for yourself. And so as you go through this lesson, you'll actually notice when it comes to Amazon's Alexa and Google's Assistant, the Hey Google one, you actually can try out these smart assistants without having to have some fancy speaker you talk to or whatever. You can actually download these assistants on your iOS or Android device if you have a smartphone. And that's cool because you can actually try out all these applications for yourself just on your smartphone right there. Now, Siri, on the other hand, which also is covered in this lesson, you have to have Apple devices to try her out. But I think, honestly, that you might actually find more uses with these other ones. I mean, I have Apple products all around me, right? Here's my iPhone. It's a few generations old, of course. But all that to say that, yeah, as you go through this lesson, you'll kind of get a better sense about how you can try these assistants out for yourself, as well as specific applications for them. So just some key takeaways I want to make sure you get from this lesson are just, the differences in the way that I guess these companies have kind of approached how they do their smart assistant and VUI applications, as well as how you can go through and see the different uses for these smart assistants. For instance, like Alexa has these things called Alexa Skills, and it is a basically kind of like app store where you can just find specific uses for Alexa, right? And what I want you to be thinking about as well when it comes to doing this lesson is the distinction between kind of an overall smart assistant and then specific applications for that smart assistant. Because when it comes to the project you're going to make in this course, it's much more on the scope of a specific application that does like one single thing, right? One single solution for a specific problem, not an entire smart assistant. And so in this lesson, I detail and I show examples for each of these different smart assistants of what an application looks like for each of them, right? So for instance, for Alexa, an example is there's a Toronto Maple Leafs Alexa skill, which is basically just an application to ask Alexa about stats and information about the Leafs hockey team, right? So it's a very specific use for Alexa rather than, her existing in everything that you own, and then she can turn on your fridge and order you milk and whatever else you want to do, right? So like I said, the thing you're going to make in this class is more on the scale of something like a Toronto Maple Leafs database app or something, right? Not necessarily an entire smart assistant that controls your life. So that's a lesson that you will go through is on VUI applications. And another reason why I have you going through this lesson and when it comes to your research and your case study and stuff is that I think when it comes to designing and creating things, right, in this class, you're going to be designing and creating a voice user interface prototype. It's very important before you get into the design phase and creation phase to have some understanding of actually what these things are, what examples of them are, what the kind of field is like in a way. That will give you just a much more broader perspective on what it is you will then make and create, right? And have just a stronger understanding of kind of these technologies and the field that they are in. For instance, an example being that if you had two people, right, and you were teaching them, I don't know, how to like make a movie or something, one person has watched movies all of their life, the other person has never seen one before. And you teach them the same thing, and they go off and they make a movie and they come back to you. Who do you think might have a better movie? The person who has been watching them all their lives and has some understanding of what these things actually are, what are good ones, how are they powerful or successful, or the person who's never seen a movie before but was just taught how to make one, right? So this is time for you to just spend familiarizing yourself with VUI applications before you actually start trying to make a prototype of your own. And that's what this assignment, your VUI research and case study, is actually all about, is getting you to spend some research into what VUIs are and do a case study on a specific example. So you'll see here that this assignment is worth 5%. It's due this Friday, January 21st, 11:59 p.m. EST. If you're an international student or in a different time zone, like I said last week, please email me so I know that and keep track of that. Anyway, overview. Understanding what VUIs are, their benefits and drawbacks, and examples of VUI applications will help you become a more well-rounded VUI designer, like I was just saying. For this assignment, you will research VUIs based on a series of research questions and complete a case study on a VUI application of your choice. So part 1 is the VUI research component. You will compile answers to the following research questions in a document for submission. You may find some answers from course lessons, and others, though, you will definitely need to research to find answers on your own, right? So this is, again, an open-ended kind of assignment where you're going to need to spend time answering these questions and finding resources that answer them for you, right, or that you learn about. And it says here to make sure to cite and link where your answers are coming from, okay? So I do not expect you to, off the top of your head, have perfect answers for all of these questions or know what all of these things are already. The whole point of research is that you look into things that exist out there already. You look into other people who have kind of answered these questions, and then you use that information to formulate your own answer and just make sure to include where the information you got your answer for is from, okay? I won't be super, on you about if it's APA formatting or whatever. If you want it to be APA formatting, that's fantastic. Otherwise, just make sure you include a link, right? It's bare minimum just to show that you are saying, look, I didn't come up with this answer all on my own. I was helped by this research that I did. Okay, so that's why I say using stuff like Google, and don't just provide a link to a Google search you did. That is not where you got the answer from. You got it from the website that you found on Google that had the information there, okay? I just have dealt with so many of these things before. I'm trying to really cover my bases. So questions here being, what is a voice user interface? That's something you can probably answer by looking through your lesson from last week, right? What are the potential benefits of VUIs? What are the potential drawbacks of VUIs? Those might be things you need to look a bit more into to really kind of articulate better for yourself. What is a happy path in the context of VUI design? What is a system persona in the context of VUI design? These are things that will be covered in the course and things that you will be making and coming up with for your projects that you create. So spending some time researching what these things are, and again, making nice, succinct answers to these questions will just help you now have a better understanding of what they are before it's covered in the course, when at that point it would be more review for you for something that you now already know, right? So spend time seeing what these things are and articulating, again, strong, clear, succinct answers to them. And then what is your personal experience interacting with VUIs, right? So just, do you have any experience with them? Do you talk to an Alexa every 5 minutes, or do you think that these things are really dumb, right? Whatever your personal experience is with these things, it would be great to know. That just gives me an understanding of where all the students are coming from in terms of their interaction with these kind of devices and these kind of interfaces, right? Part 2 is your VUI case study. And a case study is basically just kind of like an analysis of a specific example of something. So what you will do for your case study is perform a case study on a VUI application of your choice. This can be an Alexa skill, a Google action, or a Siri shortcut. More information about how to access these applications is included in your VUI applications lesson. So like I said, what all these things are to you, like what a Google action is, that is covered in your lesson for this week. And the important thing here being that you find an application through these different ways. You don't just say, I'm doing a case study on Siri, right? Because like I said, there's a distinction between a generalized whole smart assistant and then a specific application or use of that smart assistant. Okay, so being able to really focus on a specific thing that you're going to do for your case study is important. And I also want to say here, please do not choose an application that was used as an example in your VUI applications lesson, right? I already talked about the Alexa skill example being the one for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Please don't submit your case study and then it's on that same thing, right? The whole point here, and the reason why it's open-ended for you to choose your own application to do a case study on, is so that you can find one that interests you, right? Find one that maybe you could use in your own life, or maybe you just think it sounds so outlandish you want to see how it works, right? I know especially with Alexa, there's a lot of even like branded things out there. There's like Batman interactive stories and things like that. So if you're into Batman, that might be a cool one to try out for this assignment, right? And like I said, it's all about just familiarizing yourself with these things. And you can, of course, spend time interacting with all sorts of different applications, and then you just choose one that you want to focus on for this assignment. You don't just have to only do one and then never try out any others again, right? So choose an application and use it in order to formulate answers to the following questions, right? So it's basically answering questions about your experience with that application. One being, what is the VUI application you chose? For which smart assistant, and why did you choose that, right? Did you choose a Siri thing because you have a HomePod or whatever it's called, or did you choose Alexa for some other reason, right? And then why did you choose that specific application? Did it seem interesting to you? Are you a Batman fan, so you did the Batman one, right? Just why? Rather than I just clicked on something. There should be some reason why you chose to do this application for your case study. What is the purpose of this specific VUI application, right? So why does it exist? What problem does it solve for people? And then when you used it, did you find that it fulfilled this purpose, or did it not really do what it was meant to do? Did you run into issues or problems? Or did you just find it was kind of a dud and it just didn't work? I don't know, right? And then how could this VUI be improved for better usability? Or could this VUI be improved for better usability, and how so, right? Generally, things can be improved. So what about your conversation with the VUI? Did you notice there was some confusion or maybe a hiccup, or you said something and they didn't hear you, or anything like that, right? Did something happen that you thought, you know what, maybe it could be improved in some way? This is you starting to think a bit more about the design side of things, but it's good to be critical of the things you engage with as well, right? So not everything's perfect. Not everything is made perfectly. So how could this thing be improved for usability? How could something be clearer about the way that it communicates with you, or just anything else, right? Here's a good one, is how would you describe the VUI's personality? So when you're interacting with this thing, this robot talking to you, how would you describe their personality? That's a great question for you to answer. And were there any additional sounds used in the VUI other than voice? If so, what were they and what do they signify, right? Maybe if you do the Batman interactive story thing, Hopefully that actually exists and I'm not just making it up. But anyway, if you do the Batman interactive story, maybe there's like environmental sounds going on, right? What does that do to add to the whole experience, right? Or maybe you're using a VUI and there's some kind of notification sound or something. What does that do? What does it signify, right? Or is it literally just you talking with a system and it's just a conversation? There are no other sounds. Whatever it is, just answer that question. And every student's going to have a different case study, a different example that they do, right? So again, it's open-ended in that sense. And the whole point being that you're going to spend a lot of time this week working on this stuff, right? And what you will do is compile your answers to parts 1 and 2, the research and case study, and organize them in a document or slide deck that is then exported to PDF format for submission. Make sure to include your name and the course title at the beginning of the document and restate all the questions listed here in your submission, right? So don't just say number 4 and then your answer. Say number 4, what is a happy path in the context of UI design? And then your answer, right? So that helps me a lot to not have to say, okay, what was number 4 again, right? I can just say, okay, they're answering this question. So restate the questions, organize it well into a nice document that is in a PDF format for submission. And you will be evaluated on your execution of your VOI research and your execution of your case study. And you can check out the more detailed rubric on Blackboard that basically details, what's a successful submission, and then what is an okay submission, what's not so much, and what's a poor submission, right? Late policy, late submissions receive a -5% penalty per day late, excluding weekends. After 10 business days, the assignment may no longer be submitted. Okay? So get this in soon. Like I said, you have a lot of time this week to work on it. This is what you're really supposed to be spending your class time doing, is all of this research and case study for this week, right? To get you more familiar with what a VUI is, as well as the possible uses of VUIs in your daily life or whenever you may use it. To reiterate something I was saying earlier as well, when it comes to submitting this assignment, like I was saying about starting to think of me less as some professor you submit stuff to grade and more like a client or manager or boss, when it comes to this assignment, right, I'm just kind of giving you these questions, but it's up to you to figure out how you organize them into a submission that is clear and that comes across as professional, right? I could have just put it all into a document and said kind of fill in the blanks like a worksheet. But in the future, again, in your career, you're going to be tasked to do with things, and you're not going to be given some kind of template that you fill out to do it, right? So your client or whoever is going to need you to do stuff, it could be a situation very similar to this, right? Maybe you're working with a client who wants to explore having a VUI component to their app, and they say, hey, could you do some research into what these things are and maybe show me an example of one just to see if it would work for what we're thinking of doing? And then you would do that, and you would compile that information into a submission or into a document that is clear, and you would send it to your client, and then they would look at it, and you would want it to be successful for that. You would want the information to come across well to them. It wouldn't just be a wall of text or something, right? It would be well organized, professional, all that kind of stuff. So like I say, this is practice for you to get into that kind of routine and to get better at just organizing content into documents that you share with people. Because that's something you're going to have to do a lot. And this is a great opportunity for you to practice that without you getting fired, right? So that's that. That is your assignment for the week. There's your lesson for the week. This video, just kind of in detail elaborated on some of these things to try and help you, just again, guiding you through the process a bit. But once you finish watching this video, it's back to you on your own time, going through all of these things, spending time with it. But of course, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me via email, book a meeting in my office hours. If you want some one-on-one time, happy to chat about these things, answer questions, anything like that. But otherwise, I suppose I will say thank you for watching this video and have an excellent week.